there were quite a few Republican-style jokes. Like when Mindy finds out how much she's going to have to pay in back taxes, she complains about funding PBS. When Morgan says that his salary puts him under the poverty line, they mock him as like a sad sack.
I actually don't have to pay income taxes because my salary puts me under the poverty level.
And hear about economic issues.
How is that your reaction?
And Mindy is reading Sarah Palin's book and like defending her. I really miss those times. It wasn't that long ago that you could make jokes about/with either side, and it was just amusing. Welcome back to another episode of The Rank. I'm John, and today we're going to be ranking the next episode of The Mindy Project. Now, for those of you who are new to the show, I'm just going to give you a quick agenda. We start off with the potent notables, which are just a couple interesting facts or tidbits that I found out about the episode or series. Then I do the episode overview, which is just me talking about everything that happened in the episode. And then I do the rank, the namesake of the show, where I rank the episode in 5 categories on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being the worst, 5 being the best, all to find out what's the best sitcom of all time. Now, today we're going to be ranking the 3rd episode of the 3rd season of The Mindy Project, titled Crimes and Misdemeanors and Ex-Boyfriends, written by Matt Warburton and directed by Michael Weaver. So just so you know, there are spoilers ahead, so if you want to watch this episode before listening to or watching me, then feel free to do so. It's available on Hulu. Otherwise, we're going to move forward. That's your spoiler alert. Let's find out how this episode stacked up, starting with the potent notables.
Potent notables.
So the 3rd episode of the 3rd season aired Tuesday, September 30th, 2014. The cafe where Lauren was ditching Peter is called The Little Owl, and it's located at 90 Bedford Street in New York. It is better known as the outside of the famous Central Perk, the coffee shop in Friends, a show which I will have to rank at some point.
Yay.
But all right, those are the potent notables. Let's go to the episode overview. In this episode of Mindy, we get sort of a bunch of little stories. Like story A is that Danny won't let Mindy leave stuff in his place. Story B is that Mindy hasn't paid her taxes in 6 years. And story C is Peter's relationship with Lauren and competition with Jeremy over Lauren. Which, by the way, seems like it would be hard to work in a place where one of your bosses steals your girlfriend. But we start with story A. We get a montage of sorts of Mindy trying to figure out ways to leave her comb and toothbrush in a Ziploc bag, no less, in Danny's place, and Danny constantly finding it and giving it back to her to take home with her. Now, I know there are people who get bent out of shape with their significant others leaving stuff like that behind in their place too soon in the relationship, but I am not one of those. And to those people, I want to say, get over yourself. It's just common courtesy and convenience. I can understand if it's like furniture or redecorating or something, but toiletries? Really? If you end up breaking up with them, just throw that shit out. It doesn't really matter though, because Danny is going to solve the issue by getting Mindy a rolling suitcase. I'll be honest with you, Mindy, he doesn't really seem like a dream guy right now. On top of that, it's not even actually a gift because it's just a loaner. Wow, Danny. Now, after receiving the loaner suitcase is when we find out that Mindy hasn't paid her taxes in 6 years because she gets served in a meeting. The reason this matters for the practice is because it's an asset that could get a lien put on it from the government, which wouldn't be good for the practice. Interestingly, the IRS won't be the only Fed initials that are potentially causing problems for the practice, but we'll get there. What we find out now is that Mindy had already hired a lawyer to take care of the tax issue. Who did she hire? Cliff. Cliff is back. So now we've got Glenn Howerton back, but now he's kind of a jilted ex and he doesn't want to help her with her problem. Now that seems simple enough, just hire a different person, preferably an accountant to help you out with this. Nope, she needs it to be Cliff. And the only way Cliff ends up helping her is because Mindy pretends that her and Danny broke up and that Danny cheated on her. When Danny questions her on this, she explains that men only help women when they feel sorry for them. Danny passionately disagrees, and then she instantly gets Danny to do the same thing, proving her point. For whatever reason, it sure seems like Cliff really wants Mindy back, and he keeps pushing the boundaries further and further with Mindy. One part of this is that he gets her to go to dinner with him, but she doesn't tell Danny, which I thought was kind of weird. Though at this dinner, she finds out that Danny is technically still married. This fact makes it so the other fact of her going to dinner with Cliff gets glossed over. I was actually kind of surprised that this gets swept under the rug so quickly. Meanwhile, while Mindy and Danny are arguing over silly things like marriage, Peter is getting broken up with by Lauren. She swears up and down that it has nothing to do with Jeremy, but then Peter finds out that she's having lunch with him like the next day. I'll be honest, Lauren kind of sucks. I'm not really sure why Peter is even still going after her, but he makes a big mistake in doing so. You see, in his anger over her duplicity, he decides he's going to get the other guy out of the picture. He phones in a tip to INS, which puts Jeremy's status in the US in jeopardy. But as Jeremy is telling everyone about this, he also mentions that Lauren broke things off off with him as well. The hope has returned to Peter's eyes. How will it turn out? Well, when Lauren hears that Jeremy might get deported, it makes her realize that she doesn't want to be without him. So basically, Peter pushed her into the arms of the other man. Also, we get a good joke here with Jeremy saying that once INS found out that he was a rich white guy, they didn't really care anymore. Which feels real. Actually, there were quite a few Republican-style jokes. Like when Mindy finds out how much she's going to have to pay in back taxes, she complains about funding PBS. When Morgan says that his salary puts him under the poverty line, they mock him as like a sad sack.
I actually don't have to pay income taxes because my salary puts me under the poverty level.
And you're about to have economic issues.
How is that your reaction?
And Mindy is reading Sarah Palin's book and like defending her. I really miss those times. It wasn't that long ago that you could make jokes about/with either side and it was just amusing. Now they really are defunding PBS. I mean, it's PBS. Come on! Anyway, the whole marriage thing is going to lead Danny to confront Cliff, which confirms Cliff's suspicions that Mindy was lying to him about them not dating. But Danny ends up using Cliff's services to get his divorce finalized. Cliff agrees to do this in exchange for the seat from Yankee Stadium that Danny has. Now, Danny is upset to lose the seat, but again, you could just hire someone else. I can't imagine it would be that hard to find an attorney in Manhattan. But the cherry on the cake here is that Cliff tells Danny he's a Red Sox fan and he's just gonna burn the seat. I thought that was a good bit, and it's kind of nice that Cliff gets the last laugh on it. We end with Danny breaking down and realizing that he shouldn't be so closed off to Mindy, leaving her stuff at his place. This is thanks to Cliff also because he mentions that it's odd that he doesn't see any of her stuff in Danny's place because when he was dating her, her stuff was everywhere. So what does Danny do? He buys her a small pink chest of drawers that she can leave her stuff in. She's not allowed to use the closet, but she's got a couple of drawers now. And for this, he gets to have sex with Mindy in his closet. I mean, that wouldn't be my first choice of sexual destination, but whatever, to each their own. But that's the whole episode. Let's see how it ranked.
Oh, rank.
So the rank is where I rank the episode based on 5 categories: story, acting, dialogue, episode coherence, and character relatability. I rank it on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being the worst, 5 being the best. And then I have a laugh counter where I tally up the amount of times the episode made me laugh out loud. 1 point per laugh out loud gets added to the score. But before I dive into the rankings, I just want to say, if you're enjoying this episode, please hit that little thumbs up button. It really does help me out. But without further ado, let's get into the rankings. The first category is story, and I gave that a 2.5. So there's a very loose overarching story here, which is basically Danny coming to grips with having Mindy around his place more. So, you know, that's kind of weak. There's a bunch of little stories that are thrown together here as well, like Danny still being married and Mindy having not paid her taxes in 6 years, and Peter's love life. And while they were all fun, it didn't really work for a story for the episode. So let's go to acting, which I gave a 3.25. I thought everyone was kind of not fully there for this one, for whatever reason. Like Adam Pally didn't hit as hard as he probably could have. Glenn Howerton felt odd in this one. Chris Messina was a little up and down. It's still all good, but not quite as good as it should have been. So let's go to dialogue, which I gave a 5, because this episode was hilarious. The story wasn't great, but all the little stories within it were a lot of fun and really funny. I love how clever this show is. So let's go to episode coherence, which I gave a 3.75. I was a little surprised that Mindy didn't tell Danny that she was going to have dinner with Cliff, but then I was also surprised that Danny got over that so quickly. Peter's story with Lauren is sort of thankfully over. It wasn't terrible, but it also just felt weird. I didn't like that it didn't work out for him, and Cliff's return was a little odd. But let's go to character relatability, which I gave a 3.5. I mean, I think Danny's reluctance to have Mindy's stuff in his place is relatable, as well as Mindy's desire to leave her stuff there. Peter was relatable as well, but Lauren and Jeremy not as much. I don't know that I can relate to Cliff too much here. I suppose the vengeance on Danny, but I don't know. Feels odd. All right, so some up and down rankings here. Not the best, but if it has a decent laugh counter, then it'll keep it in the top 3 tiers. And as usual, the Mindy Project has a decent laugh counter. It got me 20 times. That puts the grand total up to a 38 for this episode, and that puts the episode into the Holy Grail. And as for the series average, it goes to a 36.7, keeping it in the Holy Grail. And if you're ranking along with me, drop your score for this one in the comments. I especially am curious about the laugh counter. Okay, so thanks for listening and or watching. If you'd like to see a list of our episode and series rankings, you can do that on our website at therankpodcast.com. Now, for those of you who've been watching for a while and haven't become a subscriber, please subscribe and or follow if you're enjoying it. For anybody else out there, you can comment, or you can shoot me an email at info@therankpodcast.com with your comments, questions, or suggestions, and I will reply to you if you want me to. Please also consider supporting the show by becoming a patron on our Patreon site at patreon.com/therankpodcast, where you can get access to all of our archived episodes. But I will leave you with this. Why hasn't Mindy filed her taxes in 6 years? Because she thought W2 was a Star Wars sequel.
That's not very funny.
But let's go to character relatability, which I gave a 3.5. I mean, I think Disney's, what the fuck am I talking about?
I don't even know anymore.